Hello, if you missed problem 1 through 7 on your polygons test, then most likely you were unfamiliar with some of the theorems and postulates, and possibly you didn't draw out the question. So let's do a few examples for notes, and then you can try a few more. I want to make sure that you, next to each always, sometimes, never problem, you draw that shape and mark it so that you can think through the question. So for example, maybe the question says the diagonals of a rectangle bisect each other. Okay, so let's think that through. The first thing we should do is draw a rectangle. So on your paper, make sure you're drawing a rectangle and draw in both diagonals. Okay, look carefully at the rectangle you've drawn. Look at the center point, this distance x, and this distance y, and compare them. Think about them before you make an answer. Does it look like they cut each other? Does it look like these two diagonals cut each other in half? Does it look like this piece and this piece are congruent? In addition, there is a theorem that says, there's actually 5 major theorems that I want you to review before you do the sample problems. It's that if it's a parallelogram, then the opposite sides are parallel. If it's a parallelogram, then the opposite sides are congruent. If it's a parallelogram, then the opposite angles are congruent. If it's a parallelogram, then the diagonals bisect each other. And if it's a parallelogram, the consecutive angles are supplementary. So even before I drew this rectangle, if I would have known that a rectangle is a parallelogram, then I would have to say absolutely always for this question. Another style of question is something like, is a rectangle a parallelogram? And so for those type of questions, you would use your Venn diagram. So if you do not have the pink paper in front of you now, go ahead and pause the video, get it, and bring it back. Okay, so in the Venn diagram that you have, there's parallelograms. Oops, I don't know why I wrote a Z. And then within those parallelograms, you've got your rectangles, your square, your rhombus, like so. And then I have all the properties of the parallelograms here. So if I were to ask you something like, is a rectangle a parallelogram, you would have to say always, because the rectangle circle is inside the parallelogram. But if I would ask you, is a parallelogram a rectangle? Well, that would be sometimes, because there are parallelograms over here that are not rectangles. But all the parallelograms in these bubbles within this circle are rectangles. So this one would have to be a sometimes. Another one was something like, is a trapezoid a kite? Well, over here you have a trapezoid bubble and a kite bubble, and they do not intersect. So a trapezoid is never a kite. So please use your Venn diagram for those types of questions, and other types of questions that require you to examine the picture, you'll need to draw the picture. So if you need a little more help with that, you're welcome to come in for tutoring and ask us about that. Otherwise, go ahead and work the 4 problems on the right hand side of the page after taking these notes. Thank you.